Portland and Oregon. Part 2.
Table of Contents, Portland and Oregon. Part 2.
All about Portland and the nearby regions of Oregon and Washington. With visiting and touring information, geography, history, attractions, and other points of interest.
Dr. Sydney Soclof. drsydney22@gmail.com. 2023. Narration by Dr. Sydney Soclof,
Zoe Phonemes,
and Nathan Koltove. For a complete discussion of YouTube navigation, please go to tiny.1/ytnavigator. Portland beginnings.
In the early 1840s, a new settlement began emerging 10 miles at the confluence of the Willamette River and Columbia River, roughly halfway between Oregon City and Fort Vancouver. This community was initially referred to as Stumptown and the Clearing because of the many trees being cut down to allow for its growth.
In 1843, William Overton saw potential in the new settlement, but lacked the funds necessary to file an official land claim. For 25 cents, Overton agreed to share half of the 640-acre, 2.6 square kilometers site with Asa Lovejoy of Boston, Massachusetts. In 1845, Overton sold his remaining half of the claim to Francis W. Pettygrove of Portland, Maine.
Pettygrove and Lovejoy wished to rename the clearing after their respective hometowns. Lovejoy's Boston and Pettygrove's Portland, Maine. This controversy was settled with a coin toss which Pettygrove won in a series of 2 out of 3 tosses, thereby providing Portland with its new name. The coin used for this decision, now known as the Portland penny, is on display in the headquarters of the Oregon Historical Society.
Thus the clearing was named after Pettygrove's hometown, Portland, Maine. This is a picture of First and Stark Street in Portland in 1852.
At the time of its incorporation on February 8, 1851, Portland had over 800 inhabitants, a steam sawmill, a log cabin hotel, and a newspaper, the Weekly Oregonian.
By 1879, the population had grown to 17,500, and by 1890 it had grown to 46,000. In 1888, the city constructed the first steel bridge built on the West Coast. Portland's access to the Pacific Ocean via the Willamette and the Columbia Rivers, as well as its easy access to the agricultural Tualatin Valley via the Great Plank Road, the route of current-day U.S. Route 26, provided the pioneer city with an advantage over other nearby ports, and it grew very quickly.
Portland remained a major port in the Pacific Northwest for much of the 19th century until the 1890s, when Seattle's Deepwater Harbor was connected to the rest of the mainland by rail, affording an inland route without the treacherous navigation of the Columbia River. The lumber industry also became a prominent economical presence due to the area's large population of Douglas firs, western hemlocks, and red cedars.
Portland developed a reputation early on in its history as a hard-edged and gritty port town.
In 1889, The Oregonian newspaper called Portland the most filthy city in the northern states, due to the unsanitary sewers and gutters. At the turn of the 20th century, it was considered one of the most dangerous port cities in the world. Portland housed many saloons, bordellos, gambling dens, and boarding houses populated with miners after the California gold rush, as well as the multitude of sailors passing through the port.
In 1883, Portland was linked to the National Railroad network when the Northern Pacific completed the nation's third transcontinental route by using the Oregon Railway and Navigation Company line, and the first transcontinental train arrived in Portland.
The Portland area grew in the 1890s when it annexed surrounding communities, and the 1905 exposition celebrating the 100th anniversary of Lewis's and Clark's arrival brought the city national attention. The Lewis and Clark Centennial Exposition, commonly also known as the Lewis and Clark Exposition, and officially known as the Lewis and Clark Centennial and American Pacific Exposition and Oriental Fair, was a worldwide exposition held in Portland in 1905 to celebrate the centennial of the Lewis and Clark Expedition. The exposition attracted both exhibits and visitors from around the world. During the exposition's 4-month run, it attracted over 1.6 million visitors and featured exhibits from 21 countries.
Portland grew from 161,000 to 270,000 residents between 1905 and 1910, a spurt that has been attributed to the exposition.
Since its founding in 1845, Portland has evolved into a major economic center, largely fueled by the arrival of the railroads.
3 transcontinental railroads used Portland as their Pacific Coast terminus: the Northern Pacific, Southern Pacific, and Union Pacific Railroads. Union Pacific's first streamliner, the City of Portland, operated between Portland and Chicago from 1935 until the railroad suspended passenger operations in 1971.
Meanwhile, Portland's wheat and flour industries were growing at an amazing rate, and Portland had the largest flour mill on the Pacific Coast.
The timber industry continued to grow, as the state of Oregon was second in wooded area, with 54,300 square miles in quantity of standing lumber. Oregon led the U.S. with 300 billion feet.
Oregon's shipping was growing, too, fueled by a $1.5 million project to dredge the Columbia River.
During this time, the population of Oregon grew by a factor of 30, from 13,000 in 1850 to 414,000 in 1900, compared to just a tenfold growth of the nation as a whole.
Portland's position at the junction of the Columbia River and the main north-south route from California to Puget Sound made it a valuable commercial center, handling the farm and forest produce of the Cascade Range, Willamette River Valley, and Columbia River Basin.
This is Portland in 1910, with Mount Hood in the background.
This is a penny postcard, circa 1930, of Portland. The caption reads, "View from a skyliner over Willamette River, looking north toward Mount St. Helens, Washington. Note the conical shape of Mount St. Helens before the more recent eruption." This is downtown Portland, circa 1912, at Southwest 5th and Morrison Street. On the far left of the photo is the Pioneer Courthouse.
This is the same location as it looks today.
World War II.
Portland experienced an economic and industrial boom during World War II. Shipbuilder Henry J. Kaiser had been awarded contracts to construct Liberty ships and aircraft carrier escorts, and chose sites in Portland and Vancouver, Washington for shipyards.
During this time, Portland's population rose by over 150,000, primarily attributed to recruited laborers. This is a Kaiser shipyard in Portland during World War II.
This is a Kaiser shipyard in Portland during World War II, showing several Liberty ships under construction. During the 1960s, an influx of hippie subculture began to take root in the city in the wake of San Francisco's burgeoning countercultural scene.
Portland became a hub for the city's psychedelic culture, while food cooperatives and listener-funded media and radio stations were established. A large social activist presence evolved during this time as well, specifically concerning Native American rights, environmentalist causes, and gay rights.
By the 1970s, Portland had established itself as a progressive city and experienced an economic boom for most of the decade.
In the 1990s, the technology industry began to emerge in Portland, specifically with the establishment of companies like Intel, which brought more than $10 billion in investments in 1995 alone. After the year 2000, Portland experienced significant growth, with a population rise of over 90,000 between 2000 and 2014. Portland became a very popular city for young people. It ranked second in the country and was second only to Louisville, Kentucky, as one of the cities to attract and retain the highest number of college-educated people in the United States.
Between 2001 and 2012, Portland's gross domestic product per person grew 50%, more than any other city in the country.
Portland has acquired a diverse range of nicknames throughout its history, though it is most frequently called the City of Roses. The City of Roses has been the unofficial nickname of Portland since 1888, and the official nickname since 2003. Another widely utilized nickname by residents in everyday speech is PDX, which is also the airport code for Portland International Airport. Other nicknames include Bridgetown, Stumptown, Rip City, Soccer City, P-Town, Portlandia, and the more antiquated Little Beirut.
Portland Points of Interest.
Portland museums offer a variety of educational programs. The Oregon Museum of Science and Industry, OMSI, includes many hands-on activities for adults and children.
The Oregon Museum of Science and Industry OMSI consists of 5 main halls, most of which consist of smaller laboratories: Earth Science Hall, Life Science Hall, Turbine Hall, Science Playground, and Featured Exhibit Hall. The Featured Exhibit Hall has a new exhibit every few months. The laboratories are Chemistry, Physics, Technology, Life, Paleontology, and Watershed.
OMSI has many of the unique attractions, such as the USS Blueback submarine used in the film The Hunt for Red October, the Omnimax Dome Theater, and the Kendall Planetarium.
This is the USS Blueback submarine at rest on the Willamette River in front of OMSI. The Markham and Hawthorne bridges are in the background. OmniMax is a variant of the IMAX motion picture format, where the movie is projected onto a domed projection surface. The OmniMax theater uses the largest frame in the motion picture industry, 10 times the size of the standard 35mm film.
MZ's Kendall Planetarium is the largest and most technologically advanced planetarium in the Pacific Northwest. This shows the location of the Oregon Museum of Science and Industry and the points of interest near downtown Portland.
The Portland Art Museum owns the city's largest art collection and presents various touring exhibitions each year. With the recent addition of the Modern and Contemporary Art Wing, it became one of the 25 largest museums in the U.S. The Oregon History Museum was founded in 1898. This museum has a variety of books, films, pictures, artifacts, and maps dating back throughout Oregon's history. The Oregon History Museum has one of the most extensive collections of state history materials in the country. The Portland Children's Museum is specifically geared toward early childhood development. This museum has many topics, and many of its exhibits rotate to keep the information fresh.
Portland has been named the best city in the world for street food by several publications, including the U.S. News and World Report and CNN.
Food carts are extremely popular within the city, with over 600 licensed carts, making Portland one of the most robust street food scenes in North America.
Portland has the most total and independent microbreweries of any city in the world, with 58 active breweries within city limits and more than 70 within the surrounding metropolitan area. Portland receives frequent acclaim as the best beer city in the United States and is consistently ranked as one of the top 5 beer destinations in the world.
Portland has played a prominent role in the microbrewery revolution in the U.S. and is nicknamed Beer Town and Beer Havana as a result. Portland's modern microbrewery boom dates to the 1980s when Oregon state law was changed to allow the consumption of beer on brewery premises.
Brewery innovation is further supported by the abundance of beer ingredients produced locally, including two-row barley, over a dozen varieties of local Cascade hops, and pure mountain water. Portlandia is a statue on the west side of the Portland building. It is the second largest hammered copper statue in the U.S. after the Statue of Liberty.
Powell's City of Books claims to be the largest independent new and used bookstore in the world, occupying a multi-story building on an empty city block in the Pearl District.
In 2012, Portland was named by Travel and Leisure magazine as the best city in the country for bookstores.
The Pittock Mansion is a French Renaissance-style chateau in the West Hills of Portland. The mansion was originally built in 1909 as a private home for London-born Oregonian newspaper publisher Henry Pittock and his wife, Georgiana.
The Pittock Mansion is a 46-room estate built of sandstone now owned by the city's Bureau of Parks and Recreation and is open for tours.
The Pittock Mansion is modeled after Victorian and French Renaissance architecture. The 46-room house is situated on an expanse in the West Hills, providing panoramic views of downtown Portland. It was added to the National Register of Historic Places in 1974.
The Portland Rose Festival takes place annually in June and includes 2 parades, dragon boat races, carnival rides at Atomic Call Waterfront Park, and dozens of other events.
These are parade floats at the Portland Rose Festival.
Pioneer Courthouse Square, also known as Portland's living room, is a public space occupying an entire city block in the center of downtown. Pioneer Courthouse Square opened in 1984 and is bounded by Southwest Morrison Street on the north, Southwest 6th Avenue on the east, Southwest Yamhill Street on the south, and Southwest Broadway on the west.
The square is named after the Pioneer Courthouse, an 1875 federal building occupying the block directly east of the square. Built beginning in 1869, the structure is the oldest federal building in the Pacific Northwest and the second oldest west of the Mississippi River.
Portland has a small Chinatown. The Chinatown and historic Old Town District is in downtown Portland, just a few blocks north of Pioneer Square.
The Portland Spirit is a cruise boat that offers 2 narrated cruises from Waterfront Park up the Willamette River. The Oregon Maritime Museum at Riverfront Park offers a visit to the stern wheel at Portland, the last operating steam-powered stern wheel tug in the U.S. The Portland is on the National Registry of Historic Places.
On exhibit are ship models, maritime artifacts, and memorabilia, as well as displays that relate to steam power, sailing vessels, the battleship Oregon, underwater diving, and the shipyards during World War II that built the Liberty ships and the merchant marines who sailed them.
Guided tours of the Stomach, including the pilot house and engine room, are available.
This is downtown Portland with some points of interest as well as Washington Park, just to the west of downtown. Most of the downtown area and points of interest are on the west side of the Willamette River.
This is downtown Portland with some points of interest. This is downtown Portland with some points of interest.
Portland's location is beneficial for several industries. Relatively low energy costs, accessible resources, north-south and east-west interstates, international air terminals, large marine shipping facilities, and West Coast intercontinental railroads are all economic advantages. In 2012, Portland was listed among the 10 best places to retire in the U.S. by CBS Money Watch. This is from Money Watch on CBS. 2 things about Portland: it boasts more than 40 small breweries, and is threatening Seattle as the country's coffee capital. The duality of hops and caffeine reflects the laid-back, easygoing lifestyle of the small city, where craft shops and head shops and bicycle shops mingle with excellent restaurants. Portland is in a spectacular part of the country, a city nestled along the Willamette River in the shadow of Mount Hood and just 70 miles from the Pacific coast. With a cool summer Mediterranean climate, it's all here: hiking, fishing, camping, hiking, boating, vineyards.
Portland is also home to several major cultural venues. These include the Portland Art Museum, Oregon Ballet Theater, Oregon Symphony, Portland Opera, and a wide variety of traditional and offbeat theaters, and 5 universities.
The marine terminals handle over 13 million tons of cargo per year. And the port is home to one of the largest commercial dry docks in the country.
The Port of Portland is the third largest export tonnage port on the west coast of the U.S. and being located about 80 miles, 130 kilometers, upriver. It is the largest freshwater port. Portland is the largest shipper of wheat in the U.S. and is the second largest port for wheat in the world.
The Port of Portland handles more than 47% of all wheat exports from the United States. It's the largest wheat and barley export gate in the nation and the third largest in the world, with the vast majority heading to Asia.
The steel industry's history in Portland predates World War II. By the 1950s, the steel industry became the city's #1 industry for employment.
The steel industry thrives in the region, shipping a record 1.15 billion tons of scrap metal to Asia in 1 year. Other heavy industry companies include ESCO Corporation and Oregon Steel Mills.
Technology is a major component of the city's economy, with more than 1,200 technology companies existing within the metropolitan area. This high density of technology companies has led to the nickname Silicon Forest being used to describe the Portland area, a reference to the abundance of trees in the region and the Silicon Valley region in Northern California. The Portland area also hosts facilities for software companies and online startup companies, some supported by local seed funding organizations and business incubators.
Computer components manufacturer Intel is the Portland area's largest employer, providing jobs for more than 15,000 people, with several campuses west of central Portland in Hillsborough. Tektronix is a major manufacturer of electronic test equipment in the Portland suburb of Beaverton.
The Portland metro area has become a business cluster for athletic and footwear manufacturers.
The Portland area is home to the headquarters of Nike, Adidas, Columbia Sportswear, Dr. Martens, Li-Ning, Keenan High-Tech Sports. Adidas has its North American headquarters in the Overlook neighborhood.
This is the Columbia Sportswear headquarters in Portland.
Other notable Portland-based companies include film animation studio Leica, advertising firm Weed & Kennedy, bankers Umpqua Holdings, and retailers Fred Meyer, New Seasons and Storables.
Portland parks and the environment.
Two major parks in Portland are Washington Park, just west of downtown, and the much larger Forest Park. Washington Park, in the West Hills, is a large city park home to some of Portland's most popular recreational sites, including the Oregon Zoo, the World Forestry Center, and the Hoyt Arboretum. The World Forestry Center's Discovery Museum was opened in 1971 to educate the general public about local and global forests and sustainable forestry. At the Hoyt Arboretum, every tree has a story to tell. Founded in 1928 to conserve endangered species and educate the community, the Hoyt Arboretum encompasses 189 ridgetop acres, with 12 miles of trails. Washington Park is also home to the International Rose Test Garden. There are over 7,000 rose plants of approximately 550 varieties. The roses bloom from April through October, with the peak coming in June, depending on the weather.
The International Rose Test Garden is the oldest continuously operating public rose test garden in the United States and exemplifies Portland's nickname, the City of Roses. New rose cultivars are continually sent to the garden from many parts of the world and are tested for color, fragrance, disease resistance, and other attributes.
This shows the location of some of the points of interest in Washington Park, just to the west of downtown Portland.
The Governor Tom McCall Waterfront Park is a 37-acre, 148,100 square meters, park in downtown Portland along the Willamette River. After the 1974 removal of the Harbor Drive Freeway, the park was opened to the public in 1978. The park was renamed in 1984 to honor Tom McCall, the Oregon governor who pledged his support for the beautification of the west bank of the Willamette River.
In October 2012, the American Planning Association voted Waterfront Park one of America's 10 greatest public spaces.
Portland is one of only 4 cities in the U.S. with volcanoes within its boundaries, along with Pilot Butte in Bend, Oregon, Jackson Volcano in Jackson, Mississippi, and Diamond Head in Honolulu.
Mount Tabor Park is known for its scenic views and historic reservoirs. Mount Tabor is a volcanic cinder cone named after Mount Tabor in Israel. The existence of an old volcano here was discovered in 1912, a year after the first park was established.
Forest Park is the largest wilderness park within city limits in the United States, covering over 5,000 acres, 2,023 hectares. Portland is also home to Millens Park, the world's smallest park. It is just a 2-foot diameter circle. The Oaks Amusement Park, located in the Selwood district of southeast Portland, is the city's only amusement park and one of the country's longest-running amusement parks. The Oaks Amusement Park has been in operation since 1905 and was known as the Coney Island of the Northwest upon its opening.
Portland's city park system has been proclaimed one of the best in America.
The Trust for Public Land reported that Portland had the 7th best park system among the 50 most populous U.S. cities, and that 80% of Portlanders live within a half-mile of a park, and over 16% of Portland's city area is parkland.
Portland is often awarded the greenest city in America and the most green city designation.
Popular Science magazine awarded Portland the title of the greenest city in America in 2008.
Portland is frequently recognized as one of the most environmentally conscious cities in the world because of its high walkability, a large community of bicyclists, expansive network of public transportation options, and public parks.
America's top green city has it all. Half its power comes from renewable sources. A quarter of the workforce commutes by bike, carpool or public transportation. And it has 35 buildings certified by the U.S. Green Building Council.
Portland is home to 2 Major League sports franchises, the Portland Trail Blazers of the NBA and the Portland Timbers of Major League Soccer.
The Portland Thorns of the National Women's Soccer League also play in Portland.
Portland State University, located in downtown Portland, has the largest enrollment of any university in the state, with a student body of nearly 30,000.
Portland State University has been ranked in the top 15 percentile of American universities by the Princeton Review for Undergraduate Education.
Portland is also home to the Oregon Health and Science University and Portland Community College. Notable private universities include the University of Portland, a Roman Catholic university, Reed College, a prestigious liberal arts college, and Lewis and Clark College.
Other institutions of higher learning are Pacific Northwest College of Art, Concordia University, Linfield College, Multnomah University, Cascade College, Warner Pacific College, the Art Institute of Portland, Northwest Film Center, Lewis and Clark Law School, and the Oregon Culinary Institute. The climate of Portland. Portland's climate is marked by warm, dry summers and chilly, rainy winters. This climate is ideal for growing roses, and Portland has been called the City of Roses for over a century.
Will it be hot? Or will it be cold in Portland?
Here are the average high and low temperatures in degrees Fahrenheit throughout the year in Portland. Here are the average high and low temperatures in degrees Celsius throughout the year in Portland.
Rain in Portland.
Here is the average monthly rainfall in inches throughout the year in Portland.
Here is the average number of rainy days throughout the year in Portland. We see that the rainy season is from November through March, and even through May. It rains almost half of the days each month.
In the rainiest months of November through January, almost 2/3 of the days have some rainfall.
Whereas the summer months are relatively rain-free, especially July and August, when rain occurs only about 4 days per month. It is commonly thought that Portland, as well as Seattle, are cities with a lot of rain. In actuality, the total yearly rainfall in those cities is less than that of other places in the Midwest and Northeast U.S.
The perception that Portland and Seattle are rainy cities is due to the fact that there are more rainy days in these places than the total rainfall.
In 2014, Travel and Leisure magazine rated Portland as the #1 most pedestrian and transit-friendly city in the United States. A 2011 study by Walksco ranked Portland 12th most walkable of the 50 largest U.S. cities. In 2008, 12.6% of all commutes in Portland were on public transit. TriMet operates most of the region's buses and the MAX, short for Metropolitan Area Express, light rail system, which connects the city and suburbs.
The MAX system has expanded to 5 lines, with the latest being the Orange Line to Milwaukee, in service as of September 2015.
This is a map of the light rail MAX system.
The Portland Streetcar serves 2 routes in the central city, downtown and adjacent districts. The first line, which opened in 2001, was extended in 2005 to 2007. This is a map of the Portland streetcar system.
Portland's main airport is Portland International Airport or PDX. Located about 20 minutes by car, 40 minutes by max, northeast of downtown. In Portland, cycling is a significant mode of transportation. As the city has been particularly supportive of urban bicycling, it now ranks highly among the most bicycle-friendly cities in the world. Approximately 8% of commuters bike to work, the highest proportion of any major U.S. city and about 10 times the national average.
Recommended videos, Portland.
Recommended video. 15 top attractions in Portland, Oregon.
Recommended video. 14 best things to do in Portland, Oregon. Recommended video, Portland Vacation Travel Guide, Expedia.
Recommended video, YouTube navigation. Table of contents, Portland and Oregon. Part 2.
Thanks for watching. Please watch some more of my great videos.